Okay, next round. As I said, the main income is coming from having a job. This is a little bit more complicated than it seems to be at first instance. It may be that this is the reason that actually when I prepared this, I found something that is a little bit strange, that textbooks usually start with unemployment. We don't talk about employment, let alone that we talk about work, labor, but this is something we take for granted. And if we say, okay, having a job is the normal, meaning the standard, we refer to this, then we can say unemployment is of course a problem because people don't have income from this, from having a job. And then we can think about who is actually unemployed. Now, I try to start a little bit different and look at unemployment in its relation to the overall economic process, meaning it's not simply about having a job or not having a job. This is, of course, what we see then and what we face possibly as immediate problem. We talked about the double character of goods and commodities, the use value and the exchange value. Now the same is relevant when it comes to work. And here I should say already to labor. Because work is the simple physical activity that we do, that we perform to achieve something. I work in the garden. I do my homework. I work in the gym. But this is not about labor. I do my homework, meaning my office work. This is labor. Because this is part of a job, and it is part of not only doing something, producing a use value that you produce as well when you do your homework, but this is about exchange value. Meaning what I do is not just the work, but it is labor in terms of I do it as a market activity. Now you can dispute and say in one way or another your activity is as well related to market activities, but let's keep it there, let's keep it simple, and say there are certain activities that relate to labor as selling. Now we get into the next stage of selling labor power. I do not sell labor. I sell labor power. I do not sell my product, what I produce, or the work I do, but I sell the ability to work, my labor power. It's a small but very important difference, and it is so small that actually many overlook it. And the reason for overlooking it is not that it is so small, because the reason is that it has political implications. We'll come indirectly already to the implications when we talk about abstract labor. We are not interested in the concrete work somebody does. In producing a chair, in producing a pen, in producing a phone, whatsoever. We are interested in abstract work. What is the determination of the value of abstract work? Time. We talked about this, the composition of capital. Meaning we have the different parts of capital again and again, and we will get more into details even. We have constant capital, capital that is invested as a matter of machines, of buildings, and of raw material. And we have variable capital, which is the part of living labor, of somebody actually working. The machine doesn't work. People work. People use machines to work. They may even need them, but this is not, or this does not mean that the machine actually works. Now the problem with this, you'll get the slides later, the problem with it is that the composition of capital, most important issue in economics when we talk about production, the composition of capital means establishing a contradiction. Manual work, manual labor, may produce, if I'm a tailor, one jacket per day. I don't know how long it really takes. Let's say one per day. If I have a machine that does part of the work, this machine may produce 2 or 4 jackets a day. So the wealth of a society, the products we can avail of, is increasing. We have more goods. We find now 4 jackets, not 1. If we have good machines, the jackets are the same quality or nearly the same quality as the one made by the tailor. But what happens actually? I said frequently, and will repeat myself there, that the actual value production is taking place, is coming from human labor. Did anybody try this with a computer, going home and telling the computer, do the homework for me? If so, I guess it didn't work. You still have to do it yourself. You can use and you have to use the computer. You have to use instruments, you have to use machines, but they do not do the work for you. Even the parts they do for you is nothing else than labor that had been done by somebody else before. Somebody else produced this machine. It's not the machine that produced itself. We can reproduce ourselves, but machines don't. There may be at some stage, we are talking about artificial intelligence increasingly and learning machines, and that they know at some stage what to do. Be it so. At this stage, not. At this stage, it is human labor who stands somewhere at the beginning, is aggregated. We have simple tools, we have simple machines, we develop them further, but this further development is always incorporating earlier labor. So this is important to keep in mind. The actual value is coming from our work, and it is not coming from the machine. It is, of course, a little bit difficult because the machine costs money. It is investment. It would be simple if we say, okay, I pay you for doing the work, I get the machine without paying anything for the machine, and then it's obviously you that create money and the machine is not relevant. It doesn't show up in this calculation. Now the machine costs money. And then we have to calculate, is it worthwhile to invest into a machine, meaning is the productivity, the gained productivity, so high from now the 4 jackets I sell that it can replace the money I paid for the machine. This is what you have to do in an enterprise. You decide, is the increase of production, of output, worthwhile to invest? Do I get more money from selling more products than I would without this investment? There is one problem with it. Because the reason for doing it is competition, and the mechanism of doing it is that, of course, I lose money, because now I sell the 4 jackets not for the old price, but for a lower price. This is the rule of the game. I want to gain more, and I gain more by selling more products that are produced cheaper. So you balance B plus C, you invest something into C, and you have to see, does it increase, or to which extent does it increase the amount of sold products that have, in terms of commodities, in terms of exchange value, a lower value. How do I do it? You have the same problem as we have had at some stage earlier with the apples, bananas, and shoes. We have to look for a common denominator, something that they have in common. Apples and bananas have something in common. We can eat them. Shoes we cannot eat. We can try, yes, it is not really a good solution. Now here we have, in this case, we found the solution of using the price. The price as common standard for the different goods. We don't look at the use value. The one we can eat, the other we cannot. We cannot compare. We could take the weight, or we could take something else, pretty useless. We could take our personal preference, pretty useless. If you have to walk, the banana won't help you. Well, it gives you the energy to walk, but you still need shoes. So your personal preference doesn't really matter as a comparative standard. So we took there the price. What we do now is we are looking for the common denominator, which is not the price. I could suggest we take the price actually and say the one worker costs so-and-so and the other costs this amount. So this would be a kind of solution, but however it doesn't really compare. What do you do if you are a worker? You stay at home, you come at 10 o'clock, you go to the canteen, you drink a coffee, and then you think, it's nearly lunchtime, I don't start to work. And then after lunchtime, you may start. And then you think, actually, I have to collect the children, and I leave at 3 o'clock. And the other is there from 8 in the morning and works till 4 in the afternoon, still gets the child collected from the kindergarten, but works the entire time without lunch break and without anything. We have time, but it is the time during which the laborer works. And this means the other way around, as a matter of investment, it is the labor power, not the labor, that is bought by the entrepreneur. This is the investment into me. What do I get out of this 1 hour? I mentioned this kind of indirectly. It doesn't matter, the subjective valuation. Be it bananas, apples, and rice and shoes, be it employees. It doesn't matter, whatever we prefer. One may like fruit, the other may like meat. Something we need independent of this, nutrition, shoes, they are independent of each other. Our subjective valuation doesn't matter. It is not, from a certain degree at least, not our personal preference really how much we want. But what we need. So we refer instead to abstract labor, which is the time needed to produce something. As I said, the little problem we have is that, of course, some people are more productive than others. Be it because some may be lazy, some may be more skilled, some have a better training. So we talk actually about the society necessary average. What is, in a given society, the time we need to produce product ABC. Here you see the close link between abstract and concrete labor. How much time is in this society needed to produce a watch? We have division of labor, we have certain standards of machines, we have certain standards of education, and this feeds into the average of needed time to produce it. And it is an aggregation. As I said, education, training matters. So this relates as well to C and V. If I have highly qualified workforce, it is more difficult to replace them by machines. Simple mechanical things can be done by a machine. More complex things that interact actually with the product, need not just a machine, but somebody who is skilled to do it. Did you ever split timber? You have the axe, you split the timber. It seems to be not a very qualified job. Latest when you come to the branch, you have to be very qualified actually to do this job and still to cut it. Because the branch doesn't allow you to cut this. Now the problem is you have very strong machines. They just stand there, you press the button and they do it. This is exactly the point where you have to consider what is more useful. On the one hand, splitting timber is something where you have a huge variety. A tree is not a tree. So you have different kinds of trees. You have to have one machine to serve all these things. Which means you produce actually quite a lot of waste if you have this one machine that treats every tree the same. The large one, the small one, just cut it. The advantage is, of course, it's more productive when it comes to these points where human labor needs to be highly qualified. Which angle do I have to use to cut it with the brand? Or I just have this and produce waste and say, okay, the machine does it. No problem. So we have this seemingly simple example explaining a relatively complicated process where it comes to actually calculating what is the advantage. Producing more, investing more into C or into D. What kind of machines do we have and what do they cost? Because as I said, machines cost money. As better as the machine is, as more work had been invested into producing this machine, as more we have to invest. We have invested already, and we go on. The machine is getting more expensive, and this is, of course, then influencing this relationship. As I said, labor power is my ability to work, meaning I go there and I am able to perform this work. And this is creating the value. The wool doesn't do it. We need the wool, of course, and we need the spindle. We need the wool simply as raw material. Without this, we cannot produce a jacket. We can do it as a more or less purely manual work, but any kind of machine, the spindle, more advanced machines help us to be more productive. It is, in this sense, necessary, it's essential, but at the same time, it is not anything more than this. What we have on the individual level of the enterprise, the consideration of investing into C or V, is as well happening when it comes to the question of employment. Because now we can consider what employment actually is about. It is people working, meaning people selling their labor power on the market to be productive. And this is a decision where we think about what is the price of the labor power in comparison of any other means, and will we invest or won't we invest? So when it comes then to employment, before we talk about unemployment, we have to look first at the active labor force. And the active labor force is, of course, and first and foremost, those people who have a job. And probably if you go out and ask, or if I would have asked, define it, most of you would have said, of course, yes, this is the people who have a job. True. But as well, the definition goes a little bit different, and possibly in terms of common sense a little bit stray, that people looking for employment but do not have a job are as well part of the active labor force. If they are available for employment. Employment meaning ready to work under certain conditions with a contract and being obliged to do so. It's not the little job you have and do as a kind of friendship service or whatsoever. It is having a contract, fulfilling certain conditions that define it as employment for which you are available. There are in several cases not clear borderlines. Somebody asked the other day if I have an internship, if I go for an internship placement, is this employment or not? I see no. I would agree in many cases, but this is actually something that is disputed, that of course if you go for an internship, you don't work, you are going there to learn, usually. But at the same time, you contribute at least a little bit as well to the production there. So there are now disputes saying, actually, if you take somebody for an internship, you should pay. A, they should get a contract, It's not, okay, if you come, you come, if you don't come, you don't come. It's not a moral obligation. I want to see you every day at 8 o'clock here. But we make a contract, and the contract has these mutual rights and obligations. The right is you may drink a coffee. The obligation is you are not taking the cup with you after you have been drinking the coffee, enjoying the coffee, but you leave the cup here. You respect the property of the enterprise. This is as well, the coffee cup is of course ridiculous, but this is as well, you have the obligation not to talk about the experience here. You get certain insights, it's important for you, you learn from it, but you are not allowed to sell this. You are not allowed even not to sell it, but to talk about it to somebody else. If it is something highly sensible, data on new inventions or whatsoever. Keep it for yourself, don't talk about it. Internship. And you get some money. It may be because you are actually contributing to this economic process of this entity. It may be as well because even if you are not contributing now, it is of course my interest as employer to say you do the internship now so that I will have better educated labor force later. And being available is important as well, that of course if people are there and say I am unemployed, this is the other side of it, but actually I'm not available. I go to the labor office and say I register as unemployed, but actually I'm not available. I go on holidays, I make a tour around the world, and if you come to me, actually even if I'm there, I say just leave me alone. I don't want. So it's wanting and being available. It means as well being available in terms of health. If there are certain issues around health, if you cannot do the job because of ill health, if there is a requirement that you have to have for a certain job a good education, a good eyesight, a good hearing, you cannot say, yes, I am available, but I'm deaf, sorry. I would like to do this work, security on the airport, but actually I'm blind, I cannot see anything. So you are not available, at least for this job. For others, yes. But this depends on the concrete definition then, what are you doing? Now we have, with this definition of labor force and unemployment and employment, we have the basis, we have the foundation to define unemployment. Now there are four different types of unemployment. The reason for leaving out the one is that I don't think it is a relevant one. It's so-called natural unemployment. It's something that we cannot change. It is commonly referred to in economics that we have a natural unemployment rate. As I said, we can't do anything about it. I think we can do about everything something, and we can, if we want to, get rid of all people who are unemployed, meaning who are looking for a job and who are available to a job. Ideally, we should get a job for them. There is nothing natural about being willing to work, being available for work, and not finding a job. Frictional unemployment is lost and found. I lose a job. There's always some period between having one job, leaving one job, and finding another. It's frictional because it is considered to be short-term. It is a matter of searching, and usually I do it only, or I'm only in this situation, when I leave a job and can be pretty sure that I get another job. In many cases, it is this period actually where I already have another job. I quit in the one enterprise, I move to another, and I know I cannot start immediately. I will have 1 month, 2 months, I have to wait, and then I can start. It happens, for instance, when I move accommodation, when I move to another place, and then I consider, okay, I have to leave here. I know that I will be unemployed, frictionally unemployed for 2 months, but it's fine. I get actually, if it is in place in the country, I get unemployment benefits because I register, I can go registered as being unemployed. But at the same time, I can say I need this time anyway to adapt to the new accommodation, to move my stuff from the one city to another, things like this. So frictional unemployment, cyclical unemployment. We talked about it, not about cyclical unemployment, but we talked about this issue of inventories. What happens in a crisis is that you have an adaptation to a new level of demand and supply. The extreme case, and the most obvious case, is a crisis in one sector. For whatever reason, a certain product is not demanded anymore. You would have a sectoral crisis. It's impossible for whatever reason to sell steel. You still have a small amount of steel going on being paid. You may have steel being imported because it's very cheap. You have had your own steel industry, but for whatever reason people say we won't buy it here anymore, we will import it. It's cheaper. So the national industry would be in a crisis, cyclical unemployment, and these people, of course, they look for another job, but this is a different one. This is not the individual looking for a job, temporarily being unemployed, but this is a crisis of a sector. You can have this as well in an economy, overall crisis, that you have a slump, that you have a downturn in demand, that people, for whatever reason, do not have the same amount of money anymore, that for any reason the growth rate is decreasing, and people are out of work. You have this as an economic crisis, but you can have it as well as a crisis of technical nature. This is what happened when they when you found major inventions, the spinning wheel, from manual work to machines. Instead of needing 10 workers, you needed one that did the work of 10 people before. One machine, one person doing the work of 10 people or even more. 9 people are out of employment. And if you know about certain branches, certain sectors, you will see it. Writing today, newspapers, journals. Printing. Printing is today writing. Into your computer, you format it, it's a very simple thing, and it's going out there. Before, somebody was writing, somebody was writing it properly and putting it into this printing box. And then it was printed. All this is done now, pressing a button, you write, that's still something you have to do. The rest is more or less done by the machine. So many people who did work before are now not needed anymore. Until they find something new for you to do. Until there is a new development, a new positive development of economic activities, a new area where the economy grows. A very simple thing is computers do now many things we did before manually, so we don't need them, but at the same time there is this new industries developing of software companies and I don't know what, apps production. This is something, there are new jobs. But of course, when they first had been invented, it was only a small number and there had been more people replaced, not needed anymore, and waiting for something new to develop. Then we have the structural unemployment, the reserve army, those who get out of work and have huge difficulties to find some new work. Long term, there is in different constituencies a certain number set. Usually I think it's 1 year. If you are 1 year out of employment, you are considered to be long-term unemployed, and that means to some extent as well you would be considered as being structurally unemployed. You still remain part of the active labor force because you, of course, you want to go back and you are available to go back. It may require some retraining, new education, but in principle you are available. So the math to it, simple calculations. As I said, labor force is the employed and the unemployed. Labor force. Then you have those who are not in the labor force. I know you are, there you see the difference. You are hard-working students. But forget it, you are not part of the labor force. Sorry about this. If you have a job, part-time work somewhere, that is being in the labor force, but as students, it is not considered to be part of the labor force. The same usually with homework, housework. Women who look after the child at home, mostly women, are not considered to be part of the labor force, at least in this function. The same if the man looks after the child, not considered to be part of the labor force. There we have another reference point, the age, usually starting with 15, and we say with 15 onwards, up to a certain retirement age, different again, we have the working age population. Then we can simply calculate the percentage of unemployment rate and participation rate. The participation rate, you see here the total. You see a huge variety. It's World Bank figures, it's not really getting clear, but there you have a huge variety if you look at the different color shades. I found them, for whatever reason, only for the European Union and China from the World Bank. They don't have the other figures. I looked for Northern America, for Latin America, Caribbean and Sub-Saharan Africa. I only found this, but you see already huge difference there of people who are actually participating in the labor market, meaning being employed or unemployed. This is one major difference, and another major difference is this when it comes to female participation rates. The female compared with the male is as well showing huge differences, meaning in general women have a lower participation rate. So this is something for political decisions, trying to balance this again, trying to get as many people into jobs, into employment, because this is economic activity, and as such it is supposedly good for us. Thank you.